Ooh, I
We could
like. Pretty.
We literally sat here all weekend with our colouring book and just coloured.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. No, that's I saw some of Francesca's like stories with the coloring books. It's so cute.
Yeah.
So, super cute.
You have such pretty teeth. Sorry to just.
I know. Oh, thanks, I'm all 2 a.m. here, so yeah. I'm actually not this white either. I'm actually pretty tan, but all the lighting always makes me look really white. So
I look like a tomato.
I'm
a mushroom tomato.
I feel like I do as well.
I think it's just the light.
Okay, I think it's just the lighting, but what can we do? We can.
No, it's.
Oh, you don't
I
have
love
Yeah, you don't have a ring light.
So that's okay. We've got this. I've turned the flux off, so
I don't think that really changes your camera though. That's just your screen.
yeah. But at least the light coming off here was less yellow. Yeah.
These like design, art, fashion, sometimes fashion, like it'll be a little bit of a mix, maybe like aesthetic chats or something. So that way, I don't know, I just want to start doing more of these because I felt like when I was thinking about like people I want to like video chat with at any point in my life, it's like, what do they all have in common? Art, design, and fashion. Okay, so let's just do like a series and then I can just.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that Sam and I wouldn't really be able to get onto a video call unless we had a purpose of like something that, like something, and you're the same. Like,
we can have a common ground here. So
yes.
This is what Francesca and I've like, we've never done a phone call. We've done like one video call and it was work related. So
yeah.
This is more, I didn't want to have this one be work related necessarily, but kind of, I mean, within your guys' professions, but then also like, I guess kind of, I don't know, I help on the design end too. So, but just everything. Yeah. So
it's really on brand for AP Global and on Ande Andrea. So
yeah. Well, I didn't get any questions from people. I just got like a ton of yes for doing these. So that was good. Like, at least as far as like, you know, like more like, yeah, definitely. But then I'm like, okay, well, I kind of need to get topics of what to chat on. So, but I was thinking we could chat more on like the more FE based topics of kind of what our, you know, like relationship to art is or design is, and also like inspiration, you know? So
yeah, absolutely. I think we can start with that. Maybe we can, I guess we could all go around and talk about what our relationship to creativity has been.
Yeah.
Over the years.
Maybe like what inspires you too, like how you source your inspiration, if like whatever you feel comfortable sharing in that area though, because I know some of that can be very, very personal and very like just, you know, like there are certain areas of inspiration and artistic expression I'm comfortable sharing, and then certain ones where I just feel is anyone's business or something, you know, or like they're like my little secret.
Of course. Yeah. Absolutely. We won't share the full secrets, but
yeah,
don't keep them guessing, you know.
So, introverts being like,
I know. Okay, but I do feel like out of the whole group, I'm the most extroverted one now. Mm-hmm. So maybe I
think you have to take one for the team.
Okay, I'll take one for the team, even though I feel super intro and awkward today out of all days.
You look really sexy.
Okay, thanks.
Just businesswoman sexy, off to like.
Thank you for the
get my $1
FE.
million.
That helps a lot. Thank you. Okay, so my relationship with creativity has been super erratic over the years. Like I started out being a heavy creative, so being a really idealistic child. For me, I was constantly kind of off in another world. It almost seemed like I was in another world constantly. Like my dreams would bleed into my reality, and I was always trying to find a way to escape. So I think that's where it started for me. It started with a lot of drawing, a lot of writing, a lot of imagining ideal worlds where everyone was happy and everyone were good people and magical, and it wasn't boring. I hated how boring reality was. Everything that my parents talked about was so superficial. so related to, you know, material possessions. So that's how it started for me. And I did a lot of anime drawing. I did animation, and I did painting and art in high school. I did a lot of writing. I used to stay up all night writing novels. Like I used to write sometimes 10,000.
I used to write a lot too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, did you write like fantasy or?
No, more poetry and prose.
Oh, lovely.
Like a lot. Like I got published twice in like school publishings and books and things, and I wrote a lot. Like I had 2 waves of like losing a lot of like artistic stuff in my life, and then the second one was like my motherboard had totally crashed and I didn't have anything backed up. And let's just say I've learned how to process this. So it's okay. It was more the process of the creating of the writing and the process of the creating of like but yeah, a lot of poetry and prose mostly though.
Interesting. So really, I feel like that's more FITE, like poetry in a way. It's
probably.
Weird.
I see.
Maybe FI too. Yeah, like INFP, like I would say
INFP stuff. Yeah, NFP stuff.
Yeah, for me it was very FI critic. A lot of my poetry, it was very like my feelings, like, you know, but it was powerful and it was really, really good. And I'm like, don't know where the hell I whipped that out from, but just, you know.
I think I did, that's similar thing with writing, but by creating like ideal characters and ideal worlds.
Yeah,
I think that was my main thing. And it wasn't so much super storyline based. Like I can't say, like I didn't have a really cool concept about something in the future. Like it was always future based books, like science, tech, like fantasy mixed with sci-fi. But it was very also deeply in the characters. So I was very character based. Parts of different people into, you know, parts of my friends that I loved, but who I might not feel understood by, or people and that sort of thing. And then
yourself
making them like a character that's like the most powerful version of themselves, you know,
kind of a great way to typology. I remember when you were writing your last book, you were really getting into the typology of it, and that was really fascinating. And even just you know, reading books or watching TV shows and being like, even though you have these kind of universal types, like some books don't necessarily write the characters right, but then being able to that and really see a perfect archetype of a personality type in a book, or writing a really
most powerful version.
Yes.
J.K. Rowling's an INFJ, so
I feel like my writing style is very similar to hers.
She is the epitome of world building and character development. Like the depth that she goes into, that is not even necessary for the reader. But
like it's nothing compared to INFP or INTP writers, though. Like think of like.
It depends what you're writing about. I don't think an INTP could write a Harry Potter series. Like
Game of Thrones is written by an INTP.
Yeah, I thought of the characters or the world building, because some of the characters are a bit weird in Game of Thrones still. But I feel like the historical depth and the battles, and even just
all of the TI details.
Yeah, all of the details. It's in that sense, it makes a lot of sense. It's a lot more meticulous rather than this whole fantasy world that's built up out of nothing. You know, you can't research about what does, you know, Hogwarts, you know, but I feel like he on the research end would have done a lot more.
Absolutely. I can
even the Russian author that I'm reading, like the amount of he talks in his sorry to interrupt you, he talks in his like acknowledgements about the amount of research that goes into it, and I think that he might be an INTP as well. But it's just like
interesting,
you know, even just the different approaches to writing.
Interesting. I always found writing, and I went through a really long like philosophy phase where I just studied every philosopher, and that's when I got really into Nietzsche and all of that stuff. But when I don't know if you've read any Kafka or anything. He's written both philosophy as well as poetry and prose. But I loved Kafka. Kafka's love Kafka.
I haven't heard the name, but
I just found his writing extremely inspiring. So I went on I was like obsessed with Kafka for a long time. His book, The Blue Octavo Notebooks, is beautiful. It's just poetry prose. I found writing or like reading poetry and prose is very visually inspiring for me. So maybe it's similar for you where if you're reading something or you're writing something, it's very visual, like it's super visual in my mind. And it's very inspiring for other avenues of creation for me, other artistic expressions like photography and things like that. I would source from poetry or prose that I was reading. So
interesting. Yeah, and that's what I used to do. I used to even draw my characters like out. Yeah, I needed to see them. It was very visual in my mind. I feel like I would connect to them more. So that's where I blended in my, you know, I did a lot of anime. I was very into anime. I spoke Japanese as well, so it was easier for me to remember the names. But yeah, I guess other than that, in terms of my creative journey, so I've always been like very dual brained, so very logical and also very creative and intuitive. So I did coding in school, and I was really into computers. I get really high scores in language as well. So I feel like for me the main thing has always been kind of a battle between those two. So even in my most recent job, I started out heavily coding, and I thought to myself, look, I know I'm creative. I know I can do all of that, but I need to push my logic. I need to push my thinking brain. But then it's so funny how the universe has another plan for you. It just kind of pulled me back into design.
I feel like in a way that definitely showed you how much you really wanted to be doing design. I think for a while you're kind of going back and forth, but then you're like, no, you prefer having that.
And design can be very logical as well in the area of web. 100%. So it's really
logo design. He was telling me how with logo design, it's actually he says like you literally need to have a programmer brain to do logo design well, because you need to be, there's so many detailed nuances, and it's like so hyper detail focused, but then you also need a blend of artistry to it too. So you need to be artist and programmer brain blended into one, because Peter has, I view you and Peter as having very similar brains as far as how you guys operate, where you can be very heavy in the art design world, and you can also be very heavy in the more programming coding world too, because he's the same way, where he can be very deep into one or the other too. So it's interesting.
Yeah, and I think I've discovered that with time, I go through different stages. I go in and out, and it might all be a progression of who I am as a person.
Right.
That I just kind of get an intuition. No, I need to be more in a thinking space now, or not. But I think for so many years, the main reason why I actually did go away from creativity, design, drawing, I've always been very musical as well. So went heavily away for that is just perfectionism. And I think that I was telling myself, I can be logical. I'm smart. I've always been good at computers. That's the side of myself. And I kind of deemed that more important. But at the same time, every time I went to do art, I was so hard on myself. It's so different. Like I was never hard on myself with the logic, but with art, I was always like, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. I'll never.
Because you have that vision.
Exactly. And I think maybe that's a topic we can go into more as we all go through our processes. But for me, I realized just having this job and having to work like a 9 to 5 in kind of design and just having to get it done has actually helped me get over a lot of my perfectionism, because I've just kind of been thrown into it. It's like, oh, I'm getting paid to be creative now. I'm just going to do it and do my best. And
you get results. So it just shows you how well you were all along,
If you go loud at any point, we'll just turn you back down. So that's fine. That's okay.
That's so well. I don't know. Okay.
It's okay. It's all good. Don't worry.
Okay. No, Peter was telling me how with logo design, it's actually he says you literally need to have a programmer brain to do logo design well, because you need to be, there's so many detailed nuances, and it's so hyper detail focused, but then you also need a blend of artistry to it too. So you need to be artist and programmer brain blended into one, because Peter has, I view you and Peter as having very similar brains as far as how you guys operate, where you can be very heavy in the art design world, and you can also be very heavy in the more programming coding world too, because he's the same way, where he can be very deep into one or the other too. So it's Interesting.
Yeah, and I think I've discovered that with time, just I go through different stages. I go in and out, and it might all be a progression of who I am as a person.
Right.
That I just kind of get an intuition. No, I need to be more in a thinking space now or not. But I think for so many years, the main reason why I actually did go away from creativity, design, drawing, I've always been very musical as well. So I went heavily away for that is just perfectionism. And I think that I was telling myself, yeah, I can be logical. Yeah, I'm smart. I've always been good at computers. That's the side of myself. And I kind of deemed that more important. But at the same time, every time I went to do art, I was so hard on myself. It's so different. Like I was never hard on myself with the logic, but with art, I was always like, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. I'll never.
Because you have that vision.
Exactly. And I think maybe that's a topic we can like go into more as we all go through our processes. But for me, I realized just having this job and having to work like a 9 to 5 in kind of design and just having to get it done has actually helped me get over a lot of my perfectionism, because I've just kind of been thrown into it. It's like, oh, I'm getting paid to be creative now. I'm just going to do it and do my best. And
you get results. So it just shows you how well you were all along,
Yeah. Just perfectionism. A little bit.
I think
I feel like we've brought up a lot of topics that we could go deeper.
Oh yeah, totally.
So I think that's a great starting point.
Yeah, I definitely.
It was nice to also finally meet.
You're welcome.
Thank you for
It was
having
super
us.
fun. Thanks for having us. See you again.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll chat with you guys later. Okay.
Bye.